Okay, so for Algebra 2, real quick lesson today, mini lesson, and then you get some work time and practice filling in the unit circle one more time. Definitely want you to do this at least one more time today. And then after you do that, so we'll do a quick mini lesson. Two other things you have to do in whatever order you want. Fill in unit circle one more time. If you can do it by memory, that's great. And then you have to take a Schoology exit quiz, which is review for our upcoming assessment. And that'll be open through the night. But you should get started on it here, because it's only going to be open for today. Okay, so real quick mini lesson. You're going to use the unit circle for the rest of your career in math, and much of it you'll have memorized after some point. But for right now, let's just utilize it. Use the unit circle to find the exact value for each trig function. When they say exact, they don't mean a decimal, they mean exact. Fraction, square roots. Cosine 225. Well, I'm going to just remind myself that cosine is an x value, so I'm going to be looking at the x value for the degree 225. Let's go check. 225, well, let's see, 180 plus another 45 would get me to 225. So here's 225 degrees, and I know from memory that here the x value is negative square root of 2 over 2, and also the y value is negative square root of 2 over 2. The only one I care about, though, since I said cosine, I only care about the x value, since the x value is cosine. So negative square root of 2 over 2 is my answer. 5 pi over 6, so I'm going to be looking in radians. 5 pi over 6, just to get practice knowing where this is going to be. This is going to be same as, well, let's see, convert it. Let's see, 5 pi over 6 times 180 degrees over pi rad. So the radians are going to cancel. 180 divided by 6 is what? 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180. So this is 5 times 30. Again, because the 180 divided by 6 gives me 30. So this gives me 5, 10, 15, 150 degrees. So 5 pi over 6 is the same thing as 150 degrees. It says tangent, so if you remember, you're going to take y and divide it by x for tangent. 150 degrees. 150 degrees, well, that's 30 degrees less than 180. 30 degrees less than 180 is right here. So this is 150 degrees, and it's the same thing as 5 pi over 6. And that makes sense because 6 pi over 6 would be pi. Alright, the x value here, there's only 3 choices, 1/2, square root of 3 over 2, or square root of 2 over 2. Well, it's negative, so I know the x, and I can see that the x value is big, so the biggest one out of those 3 is square root of 3 over 2. So I can tell the x value is negative square root of 3 over 2, and the y value is positive 1/2. Again, I know it's positive because it's above 0 for y. I know it's negative for x because it's less than 0 for x. Now I wanted tan of this angle, 5 pi over 6. So that's equal to y divided by negative root 3 over 2, which is equal to negative, well, take the 1/2, times it by the reciprocal of the bottom, 2 over root 3, So the 2's cancel. Negative 1 over root 3. Negative root 3 divided by 3 is my answer for tangent of 5 pi over 6. So this is equal to negative root 3 over 3. Check with your calculator to verify. So you should get this by now. There's a couple examples. Tan is the hard one because you have to do y over x. Sine, you're going to be looking at the y value for 315. Use your unit circle. Tangent, y over x for 180. That one's real quick. For 180 degrees, this is 180 degrees. Y value is 0. X value is negative 1. So this is 0 over negative 1. So this is 0. So I'll do that one for you. And you get the leftovers. Okay. Here is an important thing we have to learn. How can I use reference angles? So remember we learned that in 13.2. How can I use reference angles to find trig values of functions? Well, here's how. To find sine, cosine, or tangent of some angle theta, particularly if it's known on the unit circle. Remember that quadrant 1, we have y positive, x positive, so all things are positive. For quadrant 2, we have x negative, y positive, so that means y over x, which is tangent, is negative, and so is cosine. Quadrant 3, we have y and x negative. Tangent is y over x, so tangent is positive. And finally, for quadrant 4, we have y negative, x positive, tangent negative. So cosine positive, sine negative, tangent negative. That's what all these are saying. That's going to help us because to find the sine, cosine, tangent of an angle theta, step 1, determine the measure of the reference angle theta. Find reference angle for theta, step 1. Step 2, use quadrant 1, so go back to quadrant 1 of the unit circle to find sine, cosine, or tan of the reference angle Step 3, determine the quadrant of the terminal side of theta. So for example, maybe our original angle of theta ended over here. Adjust the sign of the sine, cosine, or tangent based on the quadrant of the terminal side. So for example, if over here reference angle was equal to, well, let me put prime on it. Reference angle was maybe 30. And let's say I was asked to find sine of 30 for this reference angle. Well, that would just be that would be 1/2. Well, if I go back, because I didn't want quadrant 1, I wanted quadrant 3, I see that sine should be negative, so my answer would be sine of my angle theta, which in this case, if you do some mental math, that should be 210 degrees. Sine of that would just be negative 1/2, because the sine in quadrant 3 for the function sine is negative. So let's try a couple. Let's try a couple real quick and try and finish it within 3 minutes, so you have plenty of time. Use reference angle to find the exact value of sine, cosine, tangent of 330. Let's draw it. Draw a picture. 330, here's 90, 180, 270. If I added another 45, well, actually I know what this is. This is going to be 270 plus 30, which is 300. This is going to be 315, and this is going to be 315 plus 30, which is, sorry, plus 15, so this is going to be 330 degrees. Well, if you use your unit circle, you'll know that, actually, let's not do that. You could look at your unit circle and easily figure this out, but let's use, like they said, the reference angle. Well, reference angle well, 30 degrees would get me back to the x-axis. Well, let's find out what is, we want tangent. Let's put reference angle here in red on the unit circle. 30 degrees. And you'll look on your unit circle and you'll say x is square root of 3 over 2. Y is 1/2. And then you'll say, well, what is tangent of 30? Let me do it over here so we're still going in order here. Now you look at tangent of reference angle, so that's tangent of theta prime. Well, that's y over x, so that's 1/2 divided by square root of 3 over 2. 1/2 times 2 over square root 3 equals 1 over square root 3 equals square root 3 over 3 once you rationalize. Well, and then I have to say, let's look back at our original angle, because notice this one is for theta prime. We wanted tan of theta. Well, the x value is positive, the y value is negative, so that means we should have positive square root of 3 over 2, negative 1/2, and that means that our answer, y over x, should be negative. So that means I keep the same number, but I turn it negative. Negative square root 3 over 3. There you go. Now, let's do it with radians. 11 pi over 6. 11 pi over 6. Well, let's see what that would be in degrees, since we haven't worked very much with radians. Times 180 divided by pi. Well, pi cancels. 180 divided by 6, we already did, is 30. 11 times 30 equals 300. Oh, look at this. That's nice. 330 degrees. Well, we wanted to know tangent of that, and we just did that right above. 11 pi over 6 is equal to exactly what we just found, because it was just in a different form, radians. Alright, and one more minute here. Negative 30. Well, actually, negative 30, if you go back to your unit circle, negative 30 is 330 degrees. Negative 30 is 330 degrees. Why? 360 minus 30, that gets you to 330. So guess what? We're going to get the same answer. Tangent of negative 30 degrees is equal to negative square root 3 over 3. Okay, so that should help you out. Let's see. This is a summary to see if you're understanding. What is a radian? What does it measure? You should be able to answer that from the last couple days. 180 degrees is pi over 2. Sorry, it's pi radians. 90 degrees, we just divide that by 2. Pi over 2. Well, 45 degrees, well, that's 90 degrees divided by 2. So that's pi over 4. 360 degrees, 2 pi radians. Homework listed right here. Schoology quiz is what you should be working on next. This is practice for our assessment, which will be Wednesday or Thursday. All right, see you tomorrow.